Today on Ministry Monday, I'm speaking to Jose, Maria, and Ariel. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are
Hi.
you?
Hi,
Hi.
Amanda.
I'm good. It's nice to see you all again. Happy Easter.
Easter,
Happy
thank
Easter.
you.
It's been a little while since we sat down and chatted with one another, and today we are going to talk about some religious devotions and practices in Filipino culture. So if it's okay with you, I kind of want to start with, of course, it's May when the episode's coming out. And of course, in May, we so often talk about our devotions to the Blessed Mother. So I was kind of hoping we'd start there. So in Filipino culture, what are some of the most important devotions or practices, spiritual practices, to pray for the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary?
Okay, so hi everyone again. Welcome to our session. Being May, the merry month of May, and a lot of things are going on. The Philippines is very devoted to the Blessed Mother, because the Filipinos are very close to her son Jesus, and the devotion is very popular. The one practice that I love, that I experienced growing up, is observing the Our Lady of Perpetual Help shrine in Baclaran. It's in Manila. It's a very busy section of the heart of Manila, and it goes way back 1500s. So Father Alphonsus Ligori founded the Redemptorists, and they brought the devotion. They brought an icon, but eventually the Filipinos and the Redemptorists set up an image of the Mother, Our Lady of Perpetual Help. And up to this day, on Wednesdays, hundreds thousands of Filipinos visitors flock the church to pray. It's a 24-hour devotion, so everything happens. And the Mother of Perpetual Help. So every person who's desperate and looking for hope, and asking for prayers, and they come out of that church very fulfilled. So I think that is the one that I wanted to share growing up with for the devotion. And the second one is, of course, Immaculate Conception. So we all know worldwide we devote ourselves to the Feast of the Immaculate Conception.
I am very devoted to the Our Lady of Perpetual Help. I remember when I think I was 9 years old, my aunt would bring me with her to attend, the novena. It's not in Baclaran because I grew up in Zambales, which is a northwestern part of the Philippines.
Mhm.
But everywhere in the Philippines, every Wednesday, there's a novena with a mass. So my
Mhm.
aunt would bring me there, and I could up to now I could memorize the prayers. Actually. Yeah. So there's different kinds of novena prayers. But in the Philippines, the Redemptorists, they're able to come up with a novena book. Everybody knows about that novena book. Yeah, there's a prayer for the sick, prayer for special intentions, and that's incorporated in the mass actually. Yeah, as what Maria said, in Baclaran, which is the national shrine, uh it's on Wednesdays, early in the morning, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. The church is already open until around midnight, and mass and novena prayers are, and people flock to church really. And it's like a weekly devotion, a weekly occurrence activity for Filipinos, and not only in Manila but also everywhere in the Philippines. And actually in my church here at St. Joachim's in Hayward, in California, we have a novena also. I mean, like 3 years ago, the Filipinos requested our pastor to have that novena after the Wednesday morning mass. So yeah, so we have that novena. We do that already. And we all the songs, Immaculate Mother. They have a version of that as well. Not the common
Oh,
Yeah, a common version. So, yeah, and then Mary, Immaculate Star of the Morning. Yeah, those are the songs there. There's another one that I love, Mother of Christ, Mother of Christ. So those, I really, yeah, exactly. I'm really, I grew up with this devotion, and up to now, I still do. Whenever I feel down or we need something, or just have an encounter with the Blessed Virgin Mary in that title. Yeah, I'm very personally, you know, addicted to addicted to that devotion. So,
And following that, the a lot of almost every female in the Philippines have Maria in the beginning of their names from the Blessed Mother.
yeah.
Really?
Yes, and I'm Maria Reynita. My sister's Mary Rose. So, and even now they do Isabella Maria. You know, like now it's a middle name. But every single Filipino. So when we come to the United States, we're all Maria. That's how it is. So we're like, I bet you have a second name. All right. So I bet you're Catholic. Yes. So those are the two prominent characteristics that our country has because of our devotion to the Blessed Mother.
And some of us men have Maria in our name too. My full name is Jose Maria Carmelito Santos Gallardo. So in Carmelito, my birthday is on Our Lady of Mount Carmel. So my parents used that as my middle name. On the trips that we would take, my parents would take when they would take us to the Philippines when we were young. My family used to spend at least a few of the weekends going to the cathedral in Manila, and behind the altar there's this beautiful statue of the Immaculate Conception, because the cathedral is known as, I believe, the minor basilica of the Immaculate Conception. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very important devotion in the Archdiocese of Manila. Another devotion to Our Lady that I remember growing up, there's another city a little bit north of Manila called Antipolo. Mm-hmm. And there's a shrine there to Our Lady of Peace and Good Voyage. Mm-hmm. And so I remember my mom's aunts would take us there just shortly before we would return to the U.S. Before our trip, and I went there with my cousins on one of my trips to the Philippines in the last as an adult. So it's a lot of people will go there before they travel, and it's a very popular shrine there in that area.
Going back to that, Our Lady of Good Voyage. So when the Spaniards, the Portuguese, were trying to come to the Philippines to spread Christianity, they brought the image of Our Lady of Lanaval, the Nuestra Senora of Lanaval, because she was guiding the ship, the voyage to the Philippines. So that's why we have the Lady of Good Voyage from that part of the history that the Portuguese brought us.
Is that the statue that's there at the shrine?
I believe so.
Yeah. I also wanted to share that sometimes every province or every region, we have in the Philippines, we have our own the titles of the Blessed Virgin Mary. You know, in the Bicol region, in the southern Tagalog provinces, they have the Our Lady of Peña Francia, and every year in September they have a fluvial parade. You know, so they parade the image of the Blessed Virgin Mary on the river. And then in my province alone, we have the Our Lady of Ina Poon Bato, which is mother of Poon, which is like she was found by the indigenous people, the Aitas. We call them Aitas in my province, and they found her in the like floating in the water on top of in the river, and they attribute to her, the protection from calamities, and even the earthquake, the Mount, which is the Mount Pinatubo explosion, the volcano. They attribute the protection of the people, of the indigenous people in the province, to her care. The Our Lady of Inapoon Bato. As a matter of fact, for us, I was also, when I was growing up, that's also our culture of bringing, of when we travel, so we go to her and visit her shrine in my province in Botolan, just to ask for, safety and protection in our travel. So and her feast day is January 24, but again, it's a whole year devotion for the Blessed Virgin Mary. So I must say that the Blessed Virgin Mary in the Philippine culture is like inseparable, as in, she's like our mother, our number one mother, number one, and our real mother is number two, because our mothers also have devotions to her. So I think that it's the Blessed Virgin Mary, our mother, and the Filipino psyche and Filipino people. It's just, it's just inseparable. Yeah, in our everyday life, and when there's Jesus, there's always the Blessed Mother all the time. So.
I'm also hearing that cultural practice of, before something momentous happens in the life in Filipino culture, that it merits a visit to at least pray for Our Lady's intercession, if not going to a shrine, going to that image and praying, at the very least taking a moment and praying for her intercession before something like travel or something larger happens within your life. Is that kind of a safe thing to say?
Yes, yes, yes. Like if you're taking an exam, for example, the board exam, or you have a presentation to do, you always have to ask for our Blessed Mother's intercession, and that everything will go well and things like that. So yes.
You put the image of the Blessed Mother by the window if there's a wedding, so that it won't rain hard, or if it does, it's not a lot for blessing. We even did it at our parish here in Lindenwold. Even us, all cultures do that. So it's very, very compelling that we go to the Blessed Mother and always ask for her help to intercede to Jesus. That always, my mom still has her Perpetual Help Novena book. But Ariel, it's funny when you said that, and I go, Mom, can I just give you a new one? Like, we have plenty of those. She's like, no, honey, this is my old thing. I believe that, this is more effective than you. Because I could see all those little sides, like how it's probably like over 100 years old, but she could still use it, which is pretty cool.
There's a deep, deep legacy here for that type of prayer, obviously, in the items that help us, that the new isn't needed, if that makes sense. Like something that is so a huge part of culture, but is also a physical part of what we know in our spiritual practice. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it does. Well, if it's okay with you, I want to kind of talk about one other major moment, if you will, that recently there is a new saint that Pope Benedict canonized, and his name was Saint Pedro Calungsod. Did I say that okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. What do we know about him, and what can we say about him?
Well, Saint Pedro Calungsod is the saint for catechists and the youth. At a very early age, he was brought by the missionaries to the Mariana Islands, and he was teaching, catechism to the people there. Unfortunately, there was a persecution, definitely, as the natives of the Mariana Islands, there's some resistance to the faith. So together with the missionaries that he went there with, he was killed. So he's a new saint. He was just canonized in 2012 by Saint Benedict, and his feast day is April the 2nd. He is the saint for the lay catechist, and he's also a martyr. I think the Filipinos can learn a lot of his life and his legacy as to the importance of evangelization, and at the same time offering ourselves for the missions. With the youth, the youth play a very important role in evangelization and the life of the church today. In the Philippines, especially in Cebu, where he is believed to be from, they have this shrine over there, and the youth have organized different kinds of programs, and they're very, very lively and very enthusiastic about the missions. So they're producing vocations in the priesthood or the religious life, and also the laity. In the last International Eucharistic Congress, I was there with some of our Filipino priests, and our bishop was there too. We're very impressed on how active the youth are in Cebu. And as I said, they are producing a lot of vocations there. And some of them are being exported. They're being exported here in the United States. Yeah, we have of Cebuano and Visayan missionaries and priests, diocesan priests as well. They come and serve here in the United States. So I think the devotion to Saint Pedro Calungsod is also another devotion that we can, in terms of that we can do and pray to increase vocations, and at the same time to encourage people to be in the missions and be active and be active in evangelization. Yeah.
My question about both Saint Pedro Calungsod and the Blessed Virgin Mary is this. What can we as listeners to this episode take into our own faith and spiritual practice from the things that you were talking about today? What can we use to help deepen our faith by being a witness to such devotion?
I'm very active with our youth liturgical ministry right now. After the pandemic, we really work hard. One of our diaconate candidate from our parish, our assistant to the pastor, and then myself. So for me, I'm using my devotion to the Blessed Mother as a tool to teach them Blessed Mother songs in many different languages. I'm using the tool for the third generation Filipinos, right? We can use that word, third generation, right? Because
Yes.
they're all now in grade school, and these kids from the Philippine descent have no idea of this anymore because their parents are younger than me. So I start with educating them with how, like Ariel said, evangelization vocation. So I teach them this practices nowadays when we have time to rehearse a very short time on Sundays. It's like a little CCD thing inside of religious and faith formation, if you call it. So I try to squeeze them in culturally, even if my children from, the American culture, Hispanic culture, you know, we pray the Tagalog Hail Mary and the Dios te salve, Spanish Hail Mary. So everybody knows, you know, everything, and they can share both their experiences.
Yeah, I wanted to share also. I think the exposure of our parishioners, including the youth, of course, to these devotions as Maria said, is a good tool to evangelize. You know, the devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary keeps you more intimate with your relationship with Jesus. You know, Jesus is very um, attached, or you know, very close to his mother, and knowing the Blessed Virgin Mary, having a special relationship with her, I think brings you to a deeper encounter, a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ. In my parish, our patron saint is Saint Joachim. You know, who is the father of Mary. We have during the month of May, we have a Marian festival, you know, and it's at Triduum. Actually, is we start on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We open on a Wednesday and close with a procession on Friday. And after that, this is it done before Mother's Day, so it you know, it coincide with the celebration of Mother's Day, and we have I think if not five or six images or titles of the Blessed Virgin Mary, representing the ethnic composition of our parish. We have Filipinos, Vietnamese, Portuguese. We have Guadalupanos, the Mexicans. We also have the Nicaraguans. The Nicaraguans, they also have the title of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Nicaragua, and our pastor is a Polish, so he also have the Black Madonna. You know, so he said, "Oh, I'm Polish. I have something too." You know, so he brought the Black Madonna together with the rest of um, um, the images and the titles of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And we have masses every day in those 3 days. We decorate shrines of the Blessed Virgin Mary. We play we play the Holy Rosary in different languages. Yeah, and then we have a multilingual mass with readings in different languages, and it's just very uplifting and enriching that you know, to see people attend in our own national costumes, you know. So and then we worship together, we pray together, we sing together, we serenade after each mass. We would serenade the Blessed Virgin, the different shrines of the Blessed Virgin. So I think it my personally, my devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary is being enriched with these activities, and the Legion of Mary in my presidium in my church, a place they're the ones who organize these things, and of course with a close coordination with me as the music director. And yeah, I think this is one of the things that really the devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary is a good tool to, as Maria said, to evangelize, to teach about the faith. You know, without the Blessed Virgin Mary, there's no Jesus Christ. So we pray through her to Jesus Christ, I guess. So yeah, through Mary, you know, to Jesus Christ, and yeah, it is very very useful, and at the same time enriches my relationship with Jesus Christ through the Blessed Virgin Mary.
That's great. Jose, anything to add?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Not there,
Okay.
right?
Well, those are some beautiful reflections about the Blessed Virgin Mary. I love too how much each of you emphasized the the many faces of Mary, if you will, the many images and reflections of Mary in culture, and how you make sure that they are included, including the languages in which we worship. I think that's a wonderful reminder, and a great, like you said, a great tool for catechesis and evangelization. So I think that's a great thing to remember for the month of May. So
Yeah.
one more thing, of course, I'd love to take a minute and talk about the fact that you will be presenting at this year's NPM convention. And not only that, but you're going to be presenting at the in-person convention and then the virtual convention. So first off, let's talk about the in-person convention. What is the title of your session going to be, and when will it be?
So the title of our convention, session in the convention is Serving Servants, Ministering Ministers in a Multicultural Setting, basically. So it's a sort of a discussion, a an open session wherein we can share our experiences and learn from each other on how to minister to our volunteers or members in the community, and in terms of how the practices, the good and the do's and the don'ts that we encounter, every time we minister to our communities and to our ministers. And sometimes, it is also important to think about how they feel, how they learn, how they worship, how they, the different cultures have our own different ways of doing things. So by a discussion, open session, we will be able to learn from each other, whether you are ministering a music minister or a liturgical minister for many years, or you're just a beginner. So you're all invited to join us in that session. Yeah, so it's going to be in Reno on July the 13th. It's a breakout D, 1:30 to 2:30. So we hope to see you all there. Yeah, it's going to be a good way to exchange our practices and our skills in that breakout session.
Great.
And also our panelists is composed of a deacon from the Hispanic ministry, a music director from the Anglo community who ministers two big ethnic communities, and we have representations from the Philippine community as well, and all cultures are invited. It's going to be so diverse, and we are going to listen to their stories, most importantly, how they relate to from their stories to our stories. So it will be really much fun, and we expect a lot of stuff that, oh my gosh, we never heard this, or we will make it really more fun and yet not scary or intimidating, if you allow me to say that. So we are just going to get together, and I think that we haven't heard this kind of breakout in the history of NPM, if I'm correct, with all the cultures. Again, so exciting.
That's wonderful. I'm so looking forward to that one myself.
Yes.
I also want to talk about the fact that you will be presenting a session during the virtual convention. So in years past, the virtual convention primarily will consist of mostly just recorded sessions from the in-person convention that we watch as if they're live, which is still taking place at this year's virtual. But we are having a select number that are live via Zoom and the platform during the virtual convention that will be exclusive to the virtual convention experience. And one of them is actually Maria is involved with it, I think, especially. Can you kind of share a little bit about that, the title, and then when that will be?
Yes. It's called Who's Stable. Again, with those two words, it's very diverse. who comes to church, who partakes the banquet of the Lord, from all perspectives. And NPM invited, and myself invited, Father Andy Luby. He is the rector at the St. Augustine Seminary in Tagaytay in the Philippines. I think it would be very exciting to hear from a priest who ministers, who guides, who teaches in the Philippines itself, to bring anything with us. Although he studied doctorate in church ministry, major in liturgical service, something like that, at the Theological Union in Chicago. And he is very excited to share the book that he wrote. And I don't want to give a lot, so everybody would be excited to join us. And it's live, and we can take questions and all that. And the most exciting part is Amanda specifically asked me what time. So 4 o'clock in the US and 4 a.m. in Manila.
I know. I emailed Maria probably about a month or so ago, and I said, "Hey, I'm working on the virtual convention schedule. When can Father Andy join for this session? Because I know there is a very significant time difference." So, yeah, Father Andy will be joining us at 4 a.m. local Philippine time
And
for the session.
I go on vacations in the Philippines. I stay in the seminary, and our breakfast is 5 o'clock because we have to do mass at 6 o'clock. The three of us, himself, the cook, and myself, and it's so exciting. And I said to her, Amanda, it's not a problem for Father Andy to wake up that early, because the Philippines, the sun rises in the Philippines is like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
It's so beautiful. And Tagaytay is a very beautiful spot in the Philippines. It doesn't get really hot because it's up high. So it's all good. So it's all exciting. And I hope everybody joins.
Yes. And also I want to mention too, if you are going to the in-person convention and maybe you can't attend the live virtual session for this session, it will be available as a replay later as well. So let's say you're in person and you can't make it to the virtual session, it'll be available. You can watch later. But of course, like I said, I invite everyone, especially virtual attendees, join live, because like Maria said, we'll be able to take questions live, and I think it'll be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. So, well, Jose, Ariel, Maria, thank you so much for sharing always your expertise and your skill, but also sharing your devotional practice with us today and your faith. It's been very inspiring to me to sit and listen as a witness. And I will definitely take your strength of faith that you have so demonstrated here. I'm going to take it into my practice, praying for the intercession of the Blessed Mother in May. So thank you all so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for having us, Amanda.
Absolutely. And heck, I'll see you in Reno.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking forward to it.